Hey everybody, welcome back to Bloodborne. So last time we took care of Vicar Amelia, and that's pretty much where we're going to pick up here. We're going to come out here, and we'll go to the left first. Mostly because I forgot which way to get to Hemwick Charnel Lane. But other than that, there's a few items that you can pick up over here. Along with fighting two of the more difficult hunter fights that you can actually find in the main game here. There's two hunters that are kind of hanging out over here, probably guarding the entrance to the cathedral that's down there. One has a tonitrus, and I'm not sure what the other guy uses, but they're generally considered to be pretty difficult. So they have a lot of HP and they're pretty fast, but specifically for that one that uses the tonitrus, if you can get your parries off on him, he can be pretty easy to fight. As long as you don't let him get up or kind of corner you. This guy, on the other hand, is really good at dodging, and his gun is really, really long range. And it's got a really good spread on it. I really wish that I could remember the name of the weapon he's actually using. And if I can remember it, I'll put that in the description, or maybe denote that in the video or something. But I wanted to bring him up these stairs here to kind of try to keep some distance between me and him. Because there's actually a pretty easy way to deal with him. If you get him caught on that roof there, he'll pretty much just try to shoot you and hit you every single time like he's doing there for me. But you can actually get him from range here. And this is typically how I try to take him out. If you are able to get close enough to him, you can parry him and you can fight him up close one-on-one. But I do know that there are people who will have trouble with him, so I kind of wanted to show off that method of fighting him. It's one I've used many times, and it seems to work pretty consistently.
Bless us with blood. Bless us with blood.
Yeah, so that's just another door that you can knock on, hear a little bit of dialogue. Not a whole lot of stuff going on there. This is another place that you can get snatched up and taken to Yahar Ghul if you have not been there yet. So, even if you don't know that that's what those snatcher guys are for, there's plenty of chances for you to find out and die to them and get taken to there. And pretty much just down here, you got some twin Bloodstone shards that you can grab. You got some enemies there that you can kill. And down here, you've got two giant executioner guys, which I wanted to try to fight because the next area that we're going to has a few of these guys, and I've never really been too good at fighting them. I can never really get the parry timing down. So I wanted to try to practice on these guys. It didn't go too well. See, right there I got one parry off on them. And there are 2 Wandering Madnesses down here if you're able to get past these guys and kill those. I don't remember if they give you regular Bloodstone shards or if they give you twin Bloodstone shards. And I don't find out here because this Executioner guy kills me. Which you'll see in a second. Crazy thing is, I actually did get the parry off on him, but I wasn't able to get up in time from the slam attack he did. But this time we're going to start at the cathedral here, and we're going to go to the right instead. And this is how you actually get to Hemwick Charnel Lane. And you can actually get here before you fight Vicar Amelia, and in some cases you might actually want to, depending on if you have found any Carol runes yet. Because after you fight the Witches of Hemwick, which is the boss we are going to fight here, you actually get the workshop tool that allows you to imprint the Carol runes onto your brain. That is the lore reason for why you're able to use them. Basically, it is a brand that you are taking and branding these things on your brain. At least that is the understanding that I have of it. If there is a different explanation for that, then please let me know, because I would like to know if I am correct about that or not. In this little area here, this is a really good place to come and get some Quicksilver Bullets. The dogs that are down here are a little bit tougher than the other ones. They hit just a little bit harder, and I feel like they're a little bit faster as well. But the villagers here are pretty much the same. They just all have guns, so they can hit you from range. And if you're still at a pretty low level, they can take a lot of health off. So you just want to be careful for that if you come here in an earlier part of the game. This is also where you can get your first bone marrow ash at, I believe, which is what I just picked up there. What that does is you put it on your hotbar and you use it before you shoot your gun, and it gives you some extra damage. So if you're doing a gun build where you're using blood tinge gems and really getting your blood tinge up, it's something that is extremely helpful, just to get as much damage from your gun as possible. Always try to loot as many enemies as I kill without missing any, so that I don't miss any items that I might have gotten. Also a good place to come and farm Bloodstone shards from those villagers. And I just wanted to check and see how many of the upgrade materials that I had, just in case I could go back and upgrade my weapon anymore. But this is Hemwick Charnel Lane. A lot of crazy old women here, carrying torches around and sickles. And I'm not too familiar with the lore of this area, but from what I can gather by the environmental stuff and just some of the attacks that they do on you, they really like to try to take your eyes.
Do you hear the graveyard murmurs? Then it's almost time. Oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
And of course, one of the things with Bloodborne is the idea that if you are able to line the inside of your skull with eyes, you are able to ascend and become a Great One. We will meet a character named Master Willem towards the end of this episode that he is the main proponent of that. He is the main person who believes that and teaches it to the students that he used to have at Bergenworth, which is another area that we'll get to at a later episode. So that kind of seems like what the people in this village were trying to do. A lot of the attacks that the old women will try to lay on you, they'll try to sneak up behind you and they'll take their scythe thing and they will actually stab it into your face and try to rip your eyes out with it. I don't let it happen, although I think I probably should have, because it's pretty gruesome to watch and it's really interesting to see too. But also the Witches of Hemwick, when I actually fight them, if you look closely enough at the cloaks that they're wearing, they're covered in eyes. So the people in this village were trying to basically ascend to the likes of a Great One by ripping people's eyes out and taking them for themselves. And if I'm wrong about that, then that's just my misunderstanding of certain aspects of Bloodborne's lore, which I have a pretty decent understanding of the main things that are going on, but when it comes to specific areas and why specific areas exist, I don't have as great of an understanding as some other people might. And what I've always thought was kind of interesting, if you actually look at the pebbles that you get from these crow enemies that you fight, they give them to you a lot. They actually look like eyes, like they're petrified eyes or something like that. And the Witch of Hemwick actually appears in Yahar'gul as well. We saw those a little bit earlier when I was going through that area. They drop pebbles a lot too. So I think that kind of adds a little bit more evidence that the pebbles that you're using to throw at enemies are actually just petrified eyeballs that you're finding around the world. So unfortunately I let that brick troll, or whatever he's called, get one up on me. But that's okay, because I wanted to be able to show this shortcut here, which we opened up a little bit earlier. Saw it a little bit ago with the woman that had my blood echoes, but they have this ram attack that if you get close enough to them, they will push you away with their with their weapon, and that can kind of stun lock you a little bit. And unfortunately, there's not really a whole lot to talk about once you get to this specific area. Aside from the lore implications of what's going on in the village, it doesn't really seem to tie a whole lot to what's going on in the main story of the game. But that could be just because I don't know a whole lot about the lore of this area. This is also a really good place to come to if you want to get twin Bloodstone shards to upgrade your weapon. And what that woman just tried to do there, she actually tried to grab me, and I think that's the start of the move where she will actually try to gouge your eyes out with her weapon. Yeah, those dogs are super, super aggressive in this area. And if you make your way down here, it's really hard to get this and not fall off sometimes. But you can get the Lake Carol rune, which I don't remember offhand exactly what that does. But that's one of the places that you can find one of the Carol runes at. Just be careful not to fall off of there, because it really is easy to do that when you're trying to get that item there. You can come down here, pick up some cold blood, and open up the second shortcut of the area here. And we'll pick up some more bone marrow ash there. It'll help out anybody who's using a blood tinge build. And I think we're probably going to end up using some of that later on. There's one of the bosses that you can cheese using that kind of stuff, and I might actually do that, though I'm not 100% sure. I might try to actually fight him the normal way, since it's a full playthrough that I'm doing. But I do think it's fun to cheese that particular boss, and if I decide to do it, then I will definitely show what I mean by that. And these guys, again, I am just not really having a lot of luck fighting these executioner enemies. Just for some reason, I'm not getting the timing down on their parries, and they can really jump long distances and get you. In fact, I kind of just said screw it there, because the second one came up, and I tried to get away, but unfortunately got hit and had to start over there. Went ahead and just cut to getting back to this part up here, because there is an area that I wasn't able to go to the first time, and we're going to check that area out. In fact, right here, that woman that's hiding there, if you do not get by her, she will grab you and she will try to take your eyes out. I didn't even really try to fight those guys this time. I just said, whatever, I'm just going to go right on through them. Take out these women here. This executioner here actually comes up from the right side of the hill and is guarding a treasure chest. And luckily I was able to take care of him and come down here. Open this up and get a Tempering Blood Gemstone. That is a triangle-shaped one that we can't use with our current weapon, but some of the weapons that are available at this point in the game, you can use that with. And we're going to come down here, these steps, and if you look off in the distance there, there's an enemy that's going to spawn from the ground. Now that is an enemy spawned by the Witch of Hemwick. It's spawned by the boss itself. And the reason that I went back to the Hunter's Dream is because they will only spawn if you go into that boss fight with insight.
Welcome home, good hunter. I must have drifted off. What is it you desire?
So I wanted to get that little bit of dialogue from the doll because I couldn't remember if I had gotten it before. I always thought it was kind of funny, you know, she will just fall asleep there, and when you wake her up, she'll just be like, oh, I must have drifted off. But anyways, if you go into that boss fight with insight, the Witch of Hemwick will actually spawn enemies. Now, if you go into that boss fight with 0 insight and you trigger it for the first time, she will still spawn enemies because the sheer act of finding the boss fight for the first time will give you a point of insight. So, if you bold Hunter's Mark out after you've triggered the boss fight, you can come back here. You can spend all of your insight at the insight messengers here. And when you go back and you face that boss for the second time, she will not be spawning any of the enemies. Now, also, if you notice, now that I've spent all of my insight and I have 0 left, my beast meter kind of went up and it's slowly going back down. So it's kind of like the more insight you spend, the more beastly you become, because you're basically losing any kind of intelligence that you have, is kind of how I read it. And I wanted to show off the route to the shortcuts that we opened up here. And just tried to run past a bunch of enemies, but it doesn't really work out so well, and you'll see that when we get up here. Yeah, that's what can happen if you get hit by that ram attack. It can stun lock you, and if there's a bunch of enemies around, they can all get their hits on you, and you're pretty much done for. So, kind of sucks that that happened to me, but I thought it was kind of funny, so I just wanted to leave that in there. But that time I got past him. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fight the Witch of Hemwick here. And she's not a very hard boss in general. If you look at her, you'll see what I was talking about earlier. She's got all these just eyes that are just covering the cloak that she's wearing. And even the weapon she's using seems to have eyes on it as well. And then in her right hand, she has a like scoop type thing. And that is what they are actually using to take the eyes out of people. And you'll notice that even though I was hitting that one, none of the boss's health gauge was coming off. And that's because there are actually two of them in here. And they just kind of take turns disappearing and reappearing. And you can actually kill the second one before her health bar even comes up. And that's just what happened there. This boss isn't hard by any means, but it's kind of annoying just because of the fact that she can disappear and just reappear at any of these places. And I couldn't find one for a little bit. And if you actually take a little bit too long to finish the second one off, I believe the first one kind of regenerates a little bit of health and will start reappearing. So I'm just going to let the rest of this play out. There's not much longer to go on. But I'll see you back in just a moment. Alright, so that is that. So like I said, not a very hard boss to do. Even with the enemies that they would spawn in normally, they're not that hard. And it's pretty well known that you can do that little insight trick, but I did want to show it off just in case there was anybody who might not know that who's watching this, because I actually didn't know it until about a year ago. That was actually a trick that you could do. Now, there is a way to get up to that second floor, but I couldn't remember what it was, and the only thing up there is a Wandering Madness, and maybe another item, but it wasn't really that big of a deal because I have a lot of upgrade materials already that I can use for my weapons. And once we go into some of the other Chalice dungeons, we're going to be able to get a lot more of those type of materials anyways. And of course, going to the Forbidden Woods within the next couple of episodes, we're going to get a lot of upgrade materials that we can use for our weapons. So there's not a whole lot of time left in this episode. So I think I'm just going to let it play out for the rest of the time. I'm going to spend some of these blood echoes that we got, put some Carol runes on my brain, and after that we're going to go back to the Grand Cathedral where we fought Vicar Amelia, and we're going to meet Master Willem and Lawrence and get a little bit of exposition there to kind of let us know what's kind of going on between the different factions that exist in this world, and get some lore and stuff like that. And we're also going to get the password to the Forbidden Woods so that we can go through that door finally. So, thank you very much for watching. Again, I really appreciate everybody watching these episodes, and I really hope that everybody's enjoying them so far. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you would like to do so, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.